Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. We're actually getting a bit of spring today. It's possible to go out with hats and a mitts. It's great. The sun is spring-ish, but the air and the dampness and the grayness is definitely still late winter. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating when I go to see other people's blogs and they're like looking at, they've got a hyacinth in their hand and they're going, ah! So I'll have to go get a potted hyacinth and see if that cheers me up. I have 3 books today, and the first one is a question. There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak is on my to-do list for my book club, and we're going to be meeting, what days to do? We're going to be meeting the coming Monday, so I've got about 6-ish days to read. But I have heard from a reliable source that you can get a lot of you get a lot of sleeping done when you read this book. Oh dear, that's not a good review, is it? And this person is someone who like me can get impatient early in a book, and so my question to the gang is it worth going past the first 50 pages? I'm willing to invest 50 pages in because it's a book club book. I may even go to 100, but should I persist and keep on going, or should I should I go to some site, I don't know which site, and just see if I can get the Coles notes for the book? So help me out. What do you think? Should I read this? Now, I have tried to read The Island of Missing Trees. No, I didn't. I liked The Bastard of Istanbul. I think that's it. I think that's all I have read. So far it's 50-50. This will change the ratio. So, if you've got a really strong feeling about it, give me a buzz, because otherwise we all meet for lunch at different people's houses. Over the years, things have evolved. Nobody wants to be driving after dark, so we now meet for sort of a brunchy, lunchy type of thing at different people's houses. And so we don't exactly have to sing a song if we haven't read the book in order to get our meal. But I have a bad habit of not finishing the books for this book club, and so I'm starting to feel a little embarrassed. I refuse to feel shame, but slightly embarrassed. That's where I'm headed now, by not reading so many of the books. Okay, the second book I'm bringing to you is The Kitchen House by Katheen Grissom. I know that she has written another book because my, what is our name? Reading Across Canada Book Club, I think, is our name, Canadian. Kathleen is Canadian. She's in Saskatchewan, and she's written also Glory Over Everything, which I haven't read. But I have a feeling there's another book, because that other book club was talking about how they'd like to read the other book, but you had to sort of read this one first. So I did read it. Turns out I read it multiple years ago. And for me, it turned out to be a reread, and I still really liked it. Now, having said that, once I had established after about 80 pages that I thought, I think I have read this, I started to skitter. And then as things were going along, and I thought, I know what's next, I know what's next, I know what's next, I started to page jump, and then just read the last 30 some odd pages. Well, it is a family saga. Well, I don't know how many years do you have to be a saga? There are definitely 3 generations, or maybe even 4 generations. But what's interesting about this family is there's a young girl who's called Lavinia, and she was coming with her parents across. This is a historical fiction. She was coming across with her parents in 1790s from Ireland in a boat. The parents did not survive. She survived, and the captain of the ship, their passage was already paid for, but he didn't know what to do with her, and he just thought, well, I'll take her home, and we can raise her up as a servant, and she'll at least get some kind of out of life. Otherwise, she's just going to end up in a. So it was an act of kindness on his part. Where he lives, though, was somewhere in the south. Never did get the actual state that they were in, on a plantation that had enslaved people. So because this young girl, she's about 7-ish, comes from Irish stock, she's not especially well-to-do, she's definitely working class, so he doesn't see her as a companion for his own daughter, he sees her as servant material, and so he pops her in with the house servants who are enslaved black people. But they're that just much up the pecking order, right? Because they are the house slaves as opposed to the field workers and so on. So she stands a good chance of being trained up in the ways that would eventually lead to a lady's maid or a companion or someone like that. That's the goal. Well, the family that she's been given to into their care, they just treat her like one of the other kids. So for a long time, she doesn't even notice the difference in skin color. I think that she kind of notices at a deep level, but because everybody's 7 and she's so deeply traumatized initially that the care that she's given from this family overrides any kind of a visual prejudice that she has. And I think for coming from Ireland at that time, she would not have encountered other people of other colors. So she's kind of skin blind in a way. And because she's also so young, she's kind of class blind. She's blind to a lot of things. And of course, the people who have been living there since their young years or childhoods or what have you, they fully understand the rankings and the hierarchies and the do's and do nots. So Lavinia has a hard time catching hold of that. So we have the grandparents of the enslaved family. We've got the parents and a brother of the father. And then we've got the children. And one of those children has aged enough that they are married and will be having children of their own. So it's a fairly large family, and they've all managed to not be sold away, so that's really great. And what we have on the white side in the plantation family is we've got the captain, Miss Martha, they have 2 children, Marshall and Sally, and I think that's it. Of course, there's a really nasty overseer. Then there's a tutor that comes along. So the white plantation family is having its journey through life with some really not so good stuff. The black family is managing to do fairly well considering like nobody's being sold, nobody's being harmed. There's not any kind of abuse happening except from the overseer, but the overseer's down at the fields hurting the people down there. So eventually, as time goes on, these 3 things all start to intermingle. There are actions by Lavinia and Marshall that lead to inevitable conflict. But this conflict doesn't really get, vengeance doesn't really come until later years. So Lavinia at a certain point goes to Williamsburg and she's how does that work? She's kind of the missing daughter in a way. Oh, so there's stuff that happens. One of these many children dies. There's another baby that's really in trouble. There's all kinds of, what shall I say? People going behind each other's backs in order to try and survive. The black family has to be way more fleet-footed than the plantation family. They're doing a really good job of trying to protect Lavinia and the other children. But eventually, as the children get older and become, they're sort of their own agents, but they're not because they haven't been given the secrets that the parents are trying to hide and the parents are trying to hide. So there's all kinds of secrets that make for poor choices as this children's group kind of gets older and they become adults, and Lavinia eventually marries Marshall not a good idea. So things just start to deteriorate until there's a really strong climax. There's stuff about emancipation, but it's not fully realized as freedom. So the ending of the book's just a little hysterical. But I mean, I enjoyed it, except that in a way, when was this book written? In a way, I feel like this was a novel that I was reading in the 2010, in the sort of 1980s to 2000s. I feel like that's when I was reading this sort of a novel, and there was, and rightly so, there was an outcry against this kind of enslaved plantation setting. People were calling into question the validity of this as a setting, and was there anything new really being brought forward to that story? And there was a bit of a shift at that time in order to have the story from the point of view of enslaved people. So we do get that in this book. It's primarily from the black family, the enslaved people's point of view, and Lavinia's, but in a way, I didn't feel like anything new was brought forward. So, but if you like a story that's got really close ties, a small family unit, definitely some problematic undercurrents going on, it's a good novel. I'm just not sure. Yeah, I think probably 10, 15 years ago, I would have given this about a 4.5 out of 4. Would have probably given it a 4 out of 5. Reading it the second time round, I'm maybe just a little too aware of some things, and not as I'd like for there to be more than just more than just a simple picture painted. So it's not a very deep novel. So whether we're going to read the second one, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what it's about. So I will get back to you on that, because I think it's going to be a selection for reading across Canada. Why don't I know the name of my own book club? Okay, the book that I was really interested in is Ink, Blood, Sister Scribe, a novel by Emma Torzs. This is a fantasy for sure. Most of the protagonists, I think all of the protagonists, are past their 20s into their 30s. So I could see that young adults could read this, because the adults they're all under the age of 30. The adults are, it's like they're newly launched into the world. They're not in their 40s and 50s and have secure jobs. Nobody has a secure job. We have got a situation where books in this world are written with the ink of scribes, and the scribes have become fewer and fewer because there has been some machinations by generations past to consolidate just which family bloodline can have scribes and which can't. Now, the problem is that if you get a fewer number of scribes, you get a fewer number of books that can be written, and the previous books that were written with the scribe's blood are starting to fade, or the number of times it can be used have been used up. So there's a moment where you got to start writing some new books. Well, the guy who's or the family who's kind of behind all of this plotting and scheming about how bloodlines will work and so on, has been on the hunt for scribes that are outside of his family line, and so other people are trying to keep scribes hidden, not telling the scribes that they're scribes, because if they are doing their magic, then they can be tracked, I guess. And so we have got two sisters, Jocelyn and Esther. Esther is the older sister with one mom, and did I say Jocelyn? No, I think that's right. Joanna, I'm sorry. Joanna is a half-sister to Esther, same dad, different mom. And she's not a scribe, but she can handle the books, she can hear the books. And so their upbringing is very much connected to these books. But when Esther turns 18, her father explains a certain thing that we're not privy to, and Esther has to go on the move. And every year she has to move on a certain day. She just has to change location, get going. And she can't go back to where she was. So she can't just go away for a week and come back. She's got to make full change. So this turns out eventually, which is not a big spoiler, that someone's hunting her, and turns out to be this cuckoo. Then we have another character named Nathaniel, and he is a scribe, and he's with the family that has the bloodline, and he is writing spells, but he's writing spells for sale. So this family is getting richer and richer, literally off the blood of Nathaniel. And he's writing ridiculous spells. They're just like really rich people's little petty revenge spells, or make me look good spells. So it's very fulfilling. And considering he's got to use up so much blood to do it, it's like, oh. Okay, things happen as they do. And eventually there's like a counter movement to try and protect the two sisters and Nathaniel, and it gets really machinated in the middle, and you're not entirely sure who's on whose side and who's loyal to who. Luckily, it's just a short little sprint of that, and we eventually get the three of them working in cahoots. Except they're still like double dealing, and right up until the very end, you're not 100% sure just who's on whose side. And if you stop too far away from the ending and think, I think I better read this all in one go, because I don't want to stop in the middle of assumptions. So I had a whole bunch of assumptions, and I put it down, and I came back, started to read, and I thought, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just kept on going, because it turns out that my assumptions were a little wrong. And then I had to think, I had to remember why I had come to those conclusions. Anyhow, it is a tense book. The first 2 pages I loved. I was really in. There was the real action-packed magic. Stuff happened. Then the next 50 pages, I thought, oh, cripes. And I have to read this one for my Woozles book club. And I thought, if the rest of the book goes like the next 50 pages, oh dear. But then it got better. So it started off with sex between 2 women, which, okay, fine, no problem with 2 women. I don't like sex between anybody. It's like, I love the fade to black. Just give me a little necking and I'm fine. I got the message. And so am I a prude? Probably. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what I do in my own bedroom, but I just don't love seeing it in other people's bedrooms. And that's universal. Cats, dogs, guinea pigs, people, aliens. It's just like, no, I don't need to know. So the first 50 pages took me a while to kind of recover, because these 2 people still kept at it. And it's like every time I turned around, somebody's pants were down. And I thought, anyways, it got better. Everybody's pants stayed up for the rest of the book. We travel a fair bit with this book. We're in Vermont, we're in London, England, we're in the Antarctic. There's a little pit stop in Australia, so that's fun. The couple of, not each sister, I'm wrong. Nathaniel has a bodyguard, and he's an interesting character. Esther has someone that she's in love with, but she has kind of wiped their memory because they've seen something that would give her away. So she's not sure whether she can go back to that person or not. So that's in the back of her mind the whole time is, geez, am I going to be able to resuscitate this relationship? And Joanna's at the house with all these books and not another human for miles and miles. And so she's not in a relationship. Poor Joanna. So yeah, I really recommend this. I think it's going to get a lot of praise from my book club, I'm pretty sure. There's groups in the book club. There's quite a divide between liking magic and not liking magic, but it divides along completely different lines along who likes romance and who doesn't like romance. And then there's a completely other swirl and cut of the pie that has to do with science fiction. It's really fun to see like who's in each little Venn diagram. Anyhow, so I recommend it. Yeah, so my next challenge is to read for this, and then I'm hoping the next two for book clubs anyhow are The Observer and The Stone Angel, but they're not till next month, and I'm hoping they're good. And I still have all these guys back here that I'm just not making a dent into. But that does have a lot to do with March middle grade madness, because I did read a lot there. So anyhow, I haven't done any knitting. I've been reading, and I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true. I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.